Hey, this is Natalie Kolbeck, and I'm here with Jen Crossley from Australia. I'm super thrilled to have her back for Creative Jumpstart. I do believe this might be the third or fourth time
I
you're.
think it's the third year.
That's so cool. So, Jen and I know each other for quite a long time, at least online, but also have met each other in person, have had a great time at some events where we were talking. We did talk a lot too, but where we were taught together. And Jen is just this incredible, amazing person doing all kinds of really cool assemblage. um, I'm always so intrigued how she finds these like little pieces, like little antique or vintage nuggets, like
Mm,
all cameras and stuff, and then put something new together. Mostly, I think, I'm not sure if it's true, but from my side, oftentimes it's mini books or albums, right? So, Jen,
yeah,
tell
yeah.
us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and yeah.
Oh, how long have you got, Nat? um, Mixed media bullshit artist. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been doing it for, gosh, I don't even know now. Every time I think how long I've been doing it, I get older and older. So, been doing it, since I was about a kid, I suppose. Always trying to make stuff when I was little and, matchbox furniture and all that sort of thing for the dolls' houses and all this sort of stuff. And, yeah, I've always been sewing or, always making something. And then I started off in paper, doing a lot of paperwork. So we've got we did have an amazing company down here, Collections, that I would work with Julie Van Oosen, and we would, she made lots of miniature stuff. So I love miniature. So that's where I got my love of miniature. So lots of paperwork, then trying to add metal to it. And then now I've sort of gone more to metal, but I love found objects. I mean, that's my one thing I keep going back to all the time.
That's so cool. You do a lot of stuff lately with resin too, right? Or
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
always, but like more
yeah,
um, like big castings that you do. Like,
yeah. I'm loving the resin. When everyone says, "What do you do?" Yeah, I find that I'm doing a lot of more resin work than what I thought I was, which
hmm
doing old book covers. So I might find an old book, make a mold of it and make that into resin. Old photo cases I've been doing a fair bit of. I love doing that. And I actually taught a class in that this year. Um, the resin's really flexible
hmm
and, you can mold it and shape it. It's just fantastic to work with. I've really sort of got a taken it from the jewelry to something different, in the molding and everything, which is, yeah, really cool.
So, Jen, the theme for Creative Jumpstart this year is actually superpower,
Yes.
and your artistic superpower. Yeah, exactly. What's your artistic superpower?
Hmm. Turning found objects into something in a single bound. Who disguises Jen Crossley? No. Um, Sorry, I got a bit carried away there. Yeah, my superpower, yeah, is looking at found objects and turning them into artwork. I think that's my superpower. I just find something and then that just takes on a whole different level. So I'd say my superpower is seeing something ordinary and making it extraordinary.
In your non-artistic life, I mean,
Hmm.
if you can say so, what's your
Yeah.
superpower in everyday life?
I would say trying to handle my son's illness. He's got cystic fibrosis, so it's a genetic lung condition, but
hmm
it's always trying to manage that. So you've sort of got to have this inner strength to, especially when he's not well, to navigate the health system and
hmm
trying to get him, tests and it's a lot of that would be my superpower to try and make his life easier, to find new things that are going to help him, especially with his diabetes at the moment. I've just found this new patch that he can wear all the time that takes his blood sugar, automatically. So you just wave the phone over it. So I think that's my superpower, having to, find an inner strength to help him and then keep the rest of the family going. I'd say that's my super strength.
That is a big superpower as well.
Yeah.
Do you, is art for you or making something giving you strength in this for the other superpower for your?
Oh, definitely. Art is definitely healing. It's my release. So having you want to escape for a couple of hours, you just go into, your studio and do your artwork, and definitely gives you you get so involved in it, and, hours go by and you don't even know. I just love that release of just being you and being, in the moment with what you're doing. It's amazing. It's definitely a huge saviour. Yeah.
Jen, that was super interesting. Your work is primarily 3D with your assemblage work, right? And found objects. But I think you mentioned before that you also worked with paper, but do you usually now work in 2D? And if so, or have you ever, what was it?
Sorry, it'd probably be the paper. Would you class that as 2D?
Yeah.
It's a very flat, collagey.
Yeah.
It was very, I'm trying to explain, very arty for its day.
Yeah.
When we were first doing, especially these products with Julie. So I really love paper, but it just got to the point where I just wanted to add metal, and that's where the dimensions started to take over. Yeah. But, I don't paint, or I don't claim to be a painter by any means. I'll leave that to you. So, but, I use that word loosely.
But you do a lot bookbinding too, right? So
yeah, love bookbinding, which sounds weird because it's very relaxing when you start stitching. It's like a real, it's just soothing.
Wait. Can we rewind that? Did you just say that bookbinding is relaxing?
Well, when it's going good, it's going good. When it's not, there's a lot of swearing. But it's it's very, I love hand stitching too. So when I think about it, I did do a lot of hand stitching back in the old days. Actually, I did a lot of hand stitching. So I've done it. I'm what am I? A jack of all trades, a master of none. So like a lot of ribbon embroidery. I did do folk art.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you think about bringing that back into your and combine it with what you do now with your casting and metal and book making?
A little bit with the hand stitching. I've noticed some of the pieces I did last year with the metal. I did, a little bit of hand stitching and put it, into metal boxes that I made. So it was like the hardness of the metal and the softness of the fabric. I really like that.
That's
cool.
I've
noticed with the assemblage pieces I've been doing, I might do cross stitches on them to hold them together. It's just the softness of the both combined I like. Yeah. So I'm sort of thinking I might do a little bit more hand sewing in with some of the assemblage pieces. Yeah.
That sounds so cool. And I love exactly what you were saying, the juxtaposition of, metal and this hardness and shiny, and then the embroidery and stitching. Yeah. That is really cool. I can totally see that. So Jen, you frequently also work with things that are not really art materials. Like, I guess anything that's of course found objects is kind of like not really meant to be for art. But is there something that you recently have worked?
I've started using it's an old. Oh, it sounds weird. They're old cash register inserts or something that used to go in, and I've actually when I looked at it, I'll have to send you a picture of one. When I looked at it, it's got like it's metal, but it's got like a clamp on it,
Huh.
like a spring clamp. So
Oh, I
to
know
me,
what you mean. Yeah.
yeah. So when I looked at that, I'm thinking, gosh, you can make that as that's a frame. To me, you can put hidden objects in behind it, and that
Ah.
spring thing holds it, and that's the frame. So I think that's the thing. And oh my God, I've been obsessed with little coat hangers lately. So, uh, little. So especially now, I've got a studio. It's little coat hangers. I've got pictures. I connect onto them. So the coat hangers are holding onto like pictures I've had for years that I can now display. So I'm a little bit obsessed with those at the moment as well. So yeah.
So when you are searching for vintage photos, bits and bobs that attract you, so what attracts you to certain pieces? And I think you kind of like said it right now. You're looking for frames. Is there anything else that you're looking for? Like, for example, what does appeal to you when you look at a vintage photo? I'm assuming you're not buying any vintage photos. Like there has to be something that appeals to you.
Um, uh, I love the tintype.
Ah.
That's my big passion, the tintype photos. Um, yeah, so I will really like buy with those two net. Like you can buy them singly, but I tend to buy them in bulk.
What surprise! What a shocker!
I know. Sorry, I Jen Crossley have a problem. So I buy them in a photo album, but I normally buy mini ones, so they're probably about an inch big. So with some of the photos are good, some aren't. So it's not that I can look through the album physically because I mainly buy those from the States. It's heaps and heaps in the States. Sometimes when I'm over there and I see single photos, yeah, it has to be something that grabs me. I don't know, like I like old men. Sorry, my husband's just gone. Men and women, yeah, that seems to attract me, and families.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just love. It's funny because when I do teach, people say, who, or if I'm wearing something that's got like an old photo on, people say, well, who's that? And I'll say, well, some Rello I bought online. But to them, they want the story behind it. It's got to be Aunt Fanny that left, Uncle Who's It, it's got to be some sort of story. So that's why I trying now to make it a little bit more of a story in the assemblage, yeah. But
do you give them a story? Is that what you do? Like or is that not really what it is about for you? Like you don't need that story.
Yeah, that's true. It's not really a story for me. Like I pick a picture to put in a piece of jewelry or assemblage because I like that particular photo. I find a lot of people they want to know a story about, was it your relative, and they like to think it's your relative. But to me, yeah, it's a funny thing. My relatives are ugly. That's why I buy people online. So, isn't that terrible? Do you know what I mean? Like some people feel more comfortable in knowing it's your blood relative, but to me, it's, so yeah, that's something I've sort of not struggled with, but it's funny how some people need to have a story with it, or it's got to be some connection to you, because otherwise why are you wearing a strange, woman on your chest? Or do you know what I mean?
That's funny. Yeah. I always find it's more I find it I don't mind if there's no story or if it's not your relative, I actually find it's interesting to just give those photos a new life.
Like, oh, definitely.
Right? Because they're I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry about this, little guy.
He's having trouble with it.
Baby.
Pussy.
Yeah. But, I find it so sad when you go somewhere and you're, finding these photos that basically you don't know. The relatives are gone, or and they're there, and you're like, well, I can give it a new life with my work. And I think the same way about books. I have had students when you do an altered book class where they were like, oh my God, it feels so bad to cut apart books or paint into books. And, I wouldn't use like Shakespeare's first edition or something like that, or,
Yeah,
you know,
the same.
right?
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
you're like, isn't it better than just having that a book that no one reads anyway anymore?
that's totally
Right?
agree with that. Yeah, when you say that, it's funny too, because if I go to, especially the swap meets I go to, sometimes people go, "What are you, what are you going to use this for?" Or they sort of think, "Oh, they sort of look at you and think, why are you buying that for, sort of thing." So I tend to not tell them anymore what I'm going to do with it, because like what you said, some people will say, "Oh gosh, well, I'm not going to sell you that if you're going to rip that apart," or,
Right.
do you know what I mean? Like, and it's not that I like buy good cameras, or,
Right.
I buy one that's fairly knackered, like, so I'm not pulling apart a brand, like a really good condition one. I'll buy one that's a little bit, no one else wants, and then I bring it back to life. And same with the photos. I bought some photos when I was in the States, and when I got them home, they were from one of my sources over there. She bundled them all up, and some of the photos had like little name tags on them, so they had someone had taken the time. Oh, I've got goosebumps, to write their name and when they were
Oh,
born. And I just think, like you, it's so sad that they've just ended up.
yeah.
I know you can't hand them on forever. That they mightn't have relatives, but I'm with you. I'd rather bring them back to life
Right.
than them stuck in a cupboard somewhere, or to give them another lease on life. So with the
Yeah.
books too, I agree. I'm not going to rip up first editions,
Right.
or have I? Yeah, but I mean, you're bringing it back to life. It's you're recycling.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part of mixed media. That it's not about the rules. It's not. I mean,
No,
there's
there's
certain
no
things
rules,
that, of
real.
course, are good for you to help you, but exactly use what feels good for you. Do what feels good for
Oh,
you,
definitely.
right? And the rest will come. Like, um,
Yeah.
even, but most of us don't do it for having their stuff in a museum, and it doesn't
No,
matter if it holds forever. And I always think like, actually, it's not my problem if it hangs in a museum and in 50 years it falls apart. Then
yeah.
someone else will have to figure out
Yeah,
how to
that's
put
right. We
that
won't
back
be here to pick
together.
up that mess.
Right? It's like not my problem, you know.
No, that's right. No. Yeah,
Jackson
exactly.
Pollock
I've
and all
worked.
those people used like, all kinds of stuff as well, and things are falling apart, and someone else has to deal with it. They still had fun doing their stuff, I assume.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that sort of makes me think of the camera cases I've been doing, or photo cases, or whatever you want to
Yeah,
call them. The original molds that they came from, like, you can see the detail on some of the frames that I've molded. To think they did them back, like, I don't even know, 1800s, or whenever it was. Um, to make that, we can't do that now, and yet all the molds that they've made, there's only like actually a couple in the Smithsonian Institute, I found out, because they just melted them down, for the
wow.
war effort, or they discarded them, or scrap metal. And to think that's going is, yeah, it's really hard. And oh, hang
Huh.
on, I'm getting off the subject. There's I buy a lot of metal banding, which is like a embossed metal, and
Uh-huh.
you get it in the States, and in New York. There's a
Yeah.
big company that's just closed down after, I don't even know. Look, I can't tell you the exact 100 years, or however long they've been going, and all their dies, their metal dies, were going to be thrown out. So that's history
Wow.
just gone, and a lot of them were thrown out. But there's a guy, Kevin Potter, who owns a company, and he's gone over and bought them to save, what he could, and now he's reproducing what they had. But to think that gets destroyed, do you know what I mean? It's just a part of history that we don't do anymore. You know, things were made better back in the old. Well, I do. You know, that's how I think. You know, how they did it back then just amazes me.
I think what it comes down to, what you said too, is like there's a craftsmanship that is
Yeah,
getting lost, and that we as mixed media artists, I think, generally appreciate, and we would
definitely.
love to know how to incorporate that and use that. And you do a lot of that. You do engraving, you do
Yeah, I
all
suppose so.
kinds of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
casting, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is trying to preserve something that's lost when you say that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, because a lot of these crafts are dying out, and it's a shame to think, there's only, certain people that do. I can't think of anything offhand, but do you know what I mean? Once they're gone and they haven't passed their skills on to someone else,
yeah.
that's lost. It really is a dying art in some things, and to think I was talking to a lady the other day who goes to New York to buy. She's in fabrics and
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing, and she went to a factory in New York where they, not a factory, trying to think, like a workshop,
Mm-hmm.
went up these old rickety stairs and then got to where she had to go, and the door open and they were hand steaming flowers still. There's only,
Wow.
yeah, it was, I'd love to have gone there. And she was telling me this story behind that, that young people don't want to come and do it now because it's boring, or but that hand, the same old guys doing do you know what I mean? And then,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just to think we've sort of got to keep some things going if we
Right.
can.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's something we really need to. I hope. I think that more and more people are like, oh, that is because you have all these like artisan bakers and butchers, and
yeah,
like
yeah,
feeling, hey, we losing these skills and crafts, and it's
yeah,
actually, there's a lot of good things that we preserve the way how we eat, or we have things that we don't have to throw away after 2 seconds, right?
yeah, yeah,
Furniture or whatever is made in a different way, of course. So yeah, it's
yeah. I
interesting.
think we need to. I always say the young ones are the future. Like, you and I aren't getting any younger, or I'm not. And we need to, I think some people get put off because they go, oh, that's so much money to start up doing, another hobby, and
Hmm.
it's, as we're talking, get back to the basics, get your basic supplies. You don't have to have, so says you and I, you don't have to have, lots of stuff there, but to
Right.
try and encourage them to start with little, the basic items, and give them the confidence to be able to do it. That's my big thing. I want to encourage young ones to get into it, because you don't want it to die out, and it's fun, and like you're saying, empowerment, or give them the superpower to think, gosh, I can do this. I can
Right.
actually make this where I didn't think I could. And that's, oh, I've got goosebumps. That's the thing I love with teaching.
Hmm.
You get someone who's never done anything with metal, or it doesn't have to be metal, and they walk out with a book that they've chemically altered and they've stitched and they've cut, and they think, gosh, I've made this. So to give them that superpower to, and I suppose you're the same, to think, oh my God, I've just done that. And that buzz is something that you just never get tired of. That's the
Right.
ultimate. Yeah.
That's so true. And that's a great segue to Creative Jumpstart. So you should
Yeah.
definitely check out Creative Jumpstart and see Jen's video for this year. It's has definitely something to do with the superpower that she talked about, and it's super fun. And sign up for the Creative Jumpstart using
Yeah.
Jen's link when she posts it. Thank you so much, Jen, for your time.
Thank
That
you,
was
Ash. Yeah.
awesome. I know your day in Australia is just being starting while mine
Yes.
goes to the end. I think we're 16 hours apart. So thank you so much for making time for this interview. And see you soon, Jen.
Yeah. Thanks, Nat, for having me back. Bye.
Bye.